There comes a time in every chosen soul's life when the silence grows louder than the noise, when the world seems to have stepped away, and all you have left is the echo of your own heartbeat and the whisper of your prayers. It's in that space, where loneliness curls around your spirit like a mist, that God begins his deepest work. You wonder why everyone left, why love turned to distance, and why your circle keeps shrinking until it feels like you're standing in a wilderness with only your faith to hold. But beloved, it's not punishment, it's protection. You are not isolated because you are forgotten, you are separated because you are sacred. God is shielding your anointing. He is guarding the oil he placed within you. That precious divine purpose that was never meant to be contaminated by careless hands or distracted hearts. You see, there's a weight that comes with being chosen, not a burden of sorrow but of holiness. God cannot let everyone walk with you into the secret places of your becoming. There are seasons when his love hides you, when his mercy disguises itself as solitude, and when his favor feels like exile. He does not send you away to harm you, he draws you apart to heal you. Because there are things he must whisper into your spirit that cannot survive the noise of company. There are instructions too divine to be heard through the chatter of the unaligned. There are revelations too sacred to be shared with those who do not understand the language of calling. And so, he takes you away, gently, but firmly, into the wilderness of divine shaping. Do not despise this quiet season, for it is holy ground. In the silence, God is not absent. He is attentive. He is rearranging the architecture of your destiny, fortifying the walls of your soul, and teaching you how to walk with him in stillness before he presents you to the world in strength. You may cry some nights. You may feel the ache of separation in your bones. You may question, why me? Why must I walk alone? But understand this: the oil you carry is too pure to be mishandled. The anointing that rests upon you is too costly to be exposed to those who do not honor its value. When you are chosen, your life can no longer move with the rhythm of the crowd. Your steps are measured by the divine, and your journey unfolds according to heaven's calendar, not man's approval. There is a holiness in being hidden. When God hides you, he is preserving you from distractions that could dilute your purpose. He is cutting ties with people who were sent to drain your spirit rather than feed it. He is removing the noise so you can recognize his voice. He is refining you in the fire of solitude so that when you emerge, you shine with a glow that cannot be dimmed by the opinions of others. You see, the world applauds the visible, but God anoints the invisible. Before David was king, he was a shepherd, unseen, uncelebrated, yet chosen. Before Joseph wore a robe of authority, he wore chains in a dungeon, forgotten by men, but remembered by God. And before you step into the fullness of your calling, you too must pass through this holy hiding. Every tear you've cried in secret has watered the soil of your destiny. Every disappointment, every rejection, every door that closed when you thought it should open, all of it was God saying, "Not yet, my child. I'm still preparing you. You cannot see it now, but this aloneness is the sanctuary of your transformation." God is not letting you lose people. He is pruning your connections. He is cutting away what cannot go where he's taking you. He is breaking your dependence on the approval of man so you can lean completely on his presence. Because chosen ones must walk with a faith that stands even when no one claps for them, even when no one understands them. You are alone because you are being recalibrated for divine greatness. The people you miss, the comfort you long for, the places that no longer fit, all of it had to fade, because the oil on your life demands isolation before elevation. When you are anointed, God won't let you blend in. He sets you apart. He gives you a hunger that ordinary conversations can't fill, a vision that ordinary minds can't grasp, and a fire that ordinary hearts can't endure. You may try to go back to what was, but it won't feel the same. That's because your spirit has outgrown the space you once called home. The anointing within you has expanded beyond the boundaries of the familiar. God has called you to something greater. And solitude is his sacred classroom. There are nights when your soul trembles under the weight of waiting. You look around and wonder if anyone else feels this stretching, this holy discomfort. You see others moving ahead, thriving, laughing, surrounded by company. And yet you remain in a quiet corner, seemingly overlooked. But remember this: when God is building something eternal in you, he doesn't rush. He doesn't parade your progress before it's time. He hides the masterpiece until it's ready, because exposure too early can destroy what was meant to be divine. The caterpillar doesn't advertise its transformation, it cocoons. The seed doesn't announce its growth, it buries itself in darkness. So don't despise your cocoon. It's your confirmation that metamorphosis is underway. The same God who separated Moses on the backside of the desert, who sent Elijah into the wilderness, who hid Esther in the palace, and who silenced John on the Isle of Patmos, that same God is with you now. He's not punishing you, he's preparing you. The solitude is your sanctuary. The silence is your song in the making. The loneliness is the echo of heaven reminding you that you were never meant to be ordinary. And when you finally rise, when the doors open and your name is whispered in rooms you've never entered, you will look back and understand that every quiet moment was divine strategy. Sometimes God must blind the eyes of those around you, so that they cannot recognize your rising until it's time. Because if they saw your potential too early, they would either envy it or exploit it. But when the appointed hour arrives, the same people who walked away will have to watch you walk in favor. They'll realize that what they mistook for isolation was actually insulation, God wrapping his protection around your purpose. So instead of mourning who left, start thanking God for who stayed. And if no one stayed, thank him even more, for he wanted you to see that he alone is enough. You are not lonely, you are being loved differently. You are being taught the sacred language of stillness, the power of prayer whispered in solitude, and the strength that comes from walking with God when no one else understands your path. Because the greatest friendships are formed in the fire of isolation. You and God learning to move as one. That's why the enemy wants to make you feel abandoned. If he can convince you that you're alone, he can distract you from realizing that God is closer now than he's ever been. But child of purpose, don't be deceived. The silence is not empty. It's filled with his presence. Every sigh is heard, every tear is collected, every lonely night is noted in heaven's book of remembrance. And when you begin to accept your season of solitude, something miraculous happens. Peace enters. The kind of peace that doesn't come from company, but from communion. The kind of peace that tells you, even if I walk alone, I am not without purpose. You start to see beauty in the quiet. You begin to thank God for the pruning. You start realizing that solitude was never about losing people. It was about finding yourself. The self God designed before the noise of the world told you who you should be. You begin to feel strong again, not because of applause, but because of alignment. You start glowing differently, not because of validation, but because you've been in the presence of the one who called you. There's a reason your spirit feels set apart. You are not like everyone else. You carry a light that cannot coexist with darkness. You carry wisdom that was not taught by man. You carry an anointing that breaks chains, heals hearts, and stirs heaven. That's why the warfare around you has been so intense. Because the enemy knows what you're about to become. But take heart if you're being attacked. It's proof that you're carrying something valuable. The enemy doesn't chase the empty, he hunts the anointed. And the more isolated you feel, the more you should know that God is refining something sacred in your soul. When God calls you chosen, he does not promise comfort, he promises purpose. He does not promise company, he promises communion. You will be misunderstood, you will be set apart, but you will never be forsaken. This is not rejection, this is redirection. You are walking the narrow path that few dare to tread. The cost is high, but the reward is eternal. And one day, when you step fully into what God has ordained for you, you will see that every lonely night was a seed planted in faith, and every tear was an anointing oil poured over your destiny. So, chosen one, lift your head. The silence is not your ending, it's your sacred beginning. The pain you feel now is the sound of chains breaking off your spirit. The loneliness you endure is the cocoon of divine transformation. You are being shaped for glory, prepared for purpose, and shielded by grace. Let God finish his work in you. Do not rush the process. Do not fight the solitude. Rest in it. Trust in it. Because one day soon, you'll emerge not as the same person who entered this wilderness, but as someone who walks with a holy fire that cannot be quenched. And when that day comes, the very people who doubted you will see the radiance of God upon your life. They'll wonder how you survived, how you kept your faith when everything fell apart. And you'll smile, not in pride, but in peace. Because you'll know the answer: you survived because you were never truly alone. You were hidden in God's hands, shielded beneath His wings, refined by His fire, and chosen by His heart. So when the nights grow quiet and the world grows distant, don't ask, "Why me?" Ask, "What are you teaching me, Lord?" For every chosen one must walk through the valley before standing on the mountain. Every anointed soul must endure solitude before carrying glory. You are not forgotten. You are being fortified. You are not abandoned. You are being anointed. You are not lonely. You are being loved by a God who refuses to share you with distractions. And when the season shifts, when the silence breaks, and the world begins to see what heaven already knew, you will rise. You will speak with the authority of one who has walked through fire and found God faithful. You will love without fear, lead without apology, and shine without permission. Because the solitude that once felt like suffering will have birthed strength, wisdom, and unshakable peace. Chosen one, you're alone because God is shielding your anointing. Stay faithful, stay grounded. Stay hidden until He says it's time. The world doesn't need a rushed version of you. It needs the refined version. The one who has walked with God through the wilderness and come out carrying light. And when you finally step forward, the heavens will whisper, "Now." Because destiny waits for no one but the ready, and your solitude is the sacred place where readiness is born. And when you finally reach that sacred moment of realization, when you begin to understand that your solitude was never a sign of loss but a symbol of love, something in you changes forever. You stop longing for the noise that once distracted you. You stop chasing the company that could not comprehend you. You stop mourning the absence of those who were never assigned to your journey. Because you begin to feel the beauty in your aloneness. You begin to hear God more clearly in the quiet. You begin to see that His silence was not neglect, it was preparation. Every unanswered prayer, every closed door, every lonely sunrise was Him saying, "I am doing something deeper, something eternal, something only solitude can shape." There are things God can only teach you when He has your full attention. That's why He had to pull you away. He couldn't speak over the noise of people's opinions. He couldn't reveal your next assignment while you were still seeking validation from those who were never meant to walk beside you. So He isolated you to instruct you. He placed you in the secret room of refinement, because He knew that before He could trust you to carry His power publicly, He had to train your spirit privately. You have been in divine training, learning endurance through loneliness, learning faith through silence, learning strength through surrender. You've been walking through spiritual boot camp, and every tear was a lesson, every waiting season was a classroom, every heartbreak was a doorway into deeper wisdom. You have cried enough tears to flood the earth, and yet, somehow you are still standing. That alone is proof that God's hand has never left you. Because if this loneliness were meant to destroy you, it would have. But it hasn't. It has only revealed how strong you really are. You may have been shaken, but you have not been broken. You may have stumbled, but you have not fallen beyond recovery. You may have felt forgotten, but heaven has been watching every step. Every breath you've taken in faith has been a fragrance rising before God. Every moment you resisted despair, every time you chose to pray instead of panic, every second you decided to stay instead of run, those were your victories. Heaven has recorded them all. There is something about a chosen soul that refuses to die even in the drought. There is something about the anointing that keeps you breathing when logic says you should be done. That's because your spirit is sustained by divine oil, not human affection. People can withdraw. Love can fade, opportunities can close, but the anointing never leaves. The oil keeps you alive in places where others lose hope. It whispers strength when all you hear is silence. It holds you when no one else can. And that oil, that sacred gift within you, is exactly what God is protecting. That's why He separated you. He couldn't allow contaminated energy to mix with your divine purpose. He couldn't risk someone mishandling the power you carry. He couldn't let the wrong hands touch the holy vessel He's shaping. So, He hid you under the shadow of His wings. Sometimes God shields you from people you love, because their presence would stunt your growth. Sometimes he separates you from environments you crave because they cannot sustain the elevation he's bringing you into. Sometimes he closes doors you were begging to walk through because he knows what waits on the other side. It is not cruelty, it is care. It is divine protection disguised as disappointment. And when you begin to trust that everything God removes is for your good, you stop chasing what left and start preparing for what's next. You learn to rest in the knowing that the same God who hides you is the God who will one day reveal you. And when he does, every hidden year will make sense. Every lonely night will have been worth it. You have been set apart for something that cannot be rushed. God has you in a season where he's not just blessing you, he's building you. And construction takes time. He's not giving you temporary success, he's establishing eternal strength. He's not creating a moment of favor, he's shaping a lifetime of impact. That's why he's taking his time. You are not behind, you are being built on rock, not sand. You are not forgotten, you are being fortified. The delay is not denial, it's development. And when God develops you, he does it thoroughly. He tests your humility, your patience, your faith, your love. He lets you feel unseen so you can learn to be faithful when no one's watching. Because if you can be faithful in the shadows, you'll carry integrity in the spotlight. There is power in being hidden. Hidden seasons are where kings are made, where prophets are purified, where visionaries are formed. It's where your roots grow deep enough to sustain the weight of your future fruit. The world sees the tree, but God celebrates the roots. No one claps for the underground work, but it's the unseen that sustains the seen. And that's exactly what God is doing in you, growing roots strong enough to hold the glory he's about to pour out. If he revealed you too early, the spotlight would crush you. But because he loves you, he is maturing you in the shadows. You are becoming unshakable, unmovable, unstoppable. The longer you stay hidden, the more you learn to listen. The more you listen, the more you understand. And the more you understand, the stronger your anointing becomes. That's the mystery of being chosen. Your power doesn't come from being seen. It comes from being surrendered. Your authority doesn't come from applause, it comes from alignment. You are learning to walk not by sight, but by the whisper of God's direction. That's why you feel different now. That's why you no longer find joy in shallow company. That's why conversations that once fed you now drain you. Your spirit has evolved. You've stepped into a higher frequency of faith, and only those who speak the language of your destiny can remain in your atmosphere. When God shields your anointing, he doesn't just remove people. He also removes distractions, desires, and dependencies. He changes your appetite. You stop craving validation, you start craving vision. You stop chasing attention. You start chasing alignment. You begin to see that your solitude is sacred soil. Every moment alone with God is planting a new level of wisdom, discernment, and peace. You start to notice the small miracles again, how the morning light hits your window, how your heart beats in rhythm with gratitude, how every breath becomes a prayer of survival. That's how you know you're healing, when the quiet no longer feels empty but full of purpose. You are walking through a holy transformation. God is turning your loneliness into language, your pain into power, your waiting into wisdom. He is making you a living testimony of what it means to trust him when nothing makes sense. Because one day, someone will look at you and see strength where there was once sorrow, peace where there was once panic, and glory where there was once grief. And they will ask, "How did you survive?" You'll answer with a quiet smile and say, "God hid me." Because that's the truth. You survived because he shielded you from what was not meant for you. You thrived because he covered you from premature exposure. You endured because he chose you for something too great to be rushed. There is no wasted waiting when God is involved. Every lonely chapter is a verse in the song of your purpose. Every season of silence is an echo of his promise that something greater is being written. And when it unfolds, it will unfold beautifully. You will not have to force it, it will flow. The connections will come without confusion. The doors will open without striving. And the blessings will find you in perfect timing. Because when God reveals what he has been hiding, it will be undeniable that it was his hand all along. Until then, hold your peace. Walk with quiet strength. Let your silence become your sanctuary. Let your prayers become your protection. Let your tears become your testimony. because even now, in this very moment, heaven is working on your behalf. Angels are rearranging paths, opportunities are being prepared, hearts are being aligned to meet yours, and everything that once seemed delayed is aligning for divine release. Your solitude is not wasted, it's holy timing. So, when the loneliness tries to whisper that you are forgotten, remind yourself, I am hidden, not lost. I am protected, not rejected. I am chosen, not abandoned. The God who began this good work in you will be faithful to complete it. He will bring you out of hiding when the time is right, and when he does, every scar will shine with glory. You will no longer see your solitude as suffering, but as the sacred space where God sculpted your strength. You will walk in rooms and carry peace that others can feel without a word spoken. You will move with grace that commands attention, not through arrogance, but through an aura of divine authority. Because those who are hidden by God emerge carrying heaven in their eyes. So stay still, chosen one. The world may not see you now, but heaven is watching closely. The soil of solitude is not your grave, it's your garden. Something holy is growing within you. And when the season shifts, you will bloom not because of effort, but because of obedience. You will rise not because of connections, but because of calling. You will shine not because of validation, but because you were faithful in the hidden place. And when the light finally hits your life, you will no longer fear the silence, for you will have learned its language. You will no longer dread being alone, for you will have met the divine in your solitude. You will no longer question why it had to be this way, for your spirit will finally understand that isolation was your initiation into greatness. The same God who hid you will reveal you, and the same tears that once fell in secret will become rivers of joy overflowing from your purpose. So, lift your head and stand tall in your solitude. You are not merely surviving, you are being sanctified. You are not in hiding, you are in holy preparation. The oil is settling within you, the fire is refining you, and the voice of God is echoing through your stillness. Let him finish, let him shield, let him shape. For when he finally unveils you, no force in heaven or earth will be able to contain the light that will pour from your anointed soul. You are alone because you are chosen, and you are chosen because God himself decided that the world needed what only you could carry. And when the time comes, the same solitude that once felt like a storm will be revealed as the sacred shelter where God protected the masterpiece that is you. And as the seasons turn and the air shifts around you, there will come a soft knowing, a still voice that hums beneath your spirit saying, it was all necessary. You'll begin to understand that what once felt like separation was divine surgery. God had to remove what was wounding you quietly. He had to silence voices that were poisoning your peace. He had to take away the temporary so he could place in your hands what was eternal. You'll see that what you thought was loss was mercy in disguise. You'll see that what you called abandonment was God pulling you closer. Because sometimes his love looks like loneliness. Sometimes his protection feels like pain. Sometimes his guidance sounds like silence. But through it all, his hand never left your life. There were nights you thought the quiet would break you, and yet, it was shaping you. Every unanswered question, every door that never opened, every person that drifted away, all of it was part of a greater choreography. God was arranging things behind the curtain, building bridges you couldn't see, aligning blessings you weren't yet ready to hold. He was softening your heart, teaching you discernment, and preparing you for a harvest too heavy for your former self to carry. You thought you were losing everything, but you were only shedding what couldn't survive where you're going. The pruning was painful, but it was purposeful. The breaking was brutal, but it was birthing something holy. There's a depth to you now that wasn't there before. You've learned to breathe in storms, to find light in the dimmest places, to pray when there are no words left. You've learned that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply whispers, I'll try again tomorrow. You've learned that solitude is not the absence of love, but the presence of truth. Because in the silence you met yourself. The real you, the one buried beneath expectation and noise. And in meeting yourself you met God again. You felt his presence in the space between your tears, in the pause between your prayers. You realized he was never waiting on your perfection, he was waiting on your surrender. The isolation that once felt like exile has become intimacy. You now understand that being chosen means being different, not in pride but in purpose. You can no longer walk in circles that gossip about blessings they've never worked for. You can no longer sit at tables where faith is treated as a costume. You are not built for imitation, you are crafted for revelation. And because of that, you don't fit where you used to. That's not rejection. That's revelation. God is showing you where you truly belong. He's refining your environment so your spirit can finally breathe. You've been misunderstood because your journey is prophetic. People cannot comprehend a process they were never meant to walk through. They see your silence and call it distance. They see your boundaries and call it pride. They see your solitude and assume it's sorrow. But they don't understand. This is what obedience looks like. This is what alignment feels like. When you choose to follow God fully, you will always look strange to those who follow comfort. But you were not called to be understood, you were called to be anointed. The anointing requires isolation. The oil flows where surrender lives. And though you've cried, though you've wrestled with confusion, though you've questioned the timing, you've stayed. You've remained in the posture of faith, even when your heart was trembling. That alone makes heaven proud. Because chosen ones are not perfect, they're persistent. You've kept showing up when your soul was weary. You've kept believing when evidence was absent. You've kept walking when the path disappeared beneath your feet. That's what makes you dangerous to the enemy. You didn't quit. You learned to praise with empty hands. You learned to worship without witnesses. You learned to trust without clarity. There will come a day when you look back and see that the loneliness was not wasted. Every sleepless night was watering a promise. Every silent tear was oil being pressed from your soul. Every time you chose to stay when you wanted to run, heaven recorded your endurance. And now, the same God who hid you is preparing to reveal you. Not for applause but for assignment, not for fame but for function. He is raising you up not as a celebrity but as a vessel. You will carry peace into places chaos once ruled. You will speak words that ignite healing in hearts that have forgotten how to hope. You will move with quiet authority that makes demons tremble. Not because of your name, but because of the one whose presence saturates you. But even as God prepares to reveal you, He will not remove the memory of your solitude. Because that solitude is sacred. It's the proof of your intimacy with Him. It's the reminder that you were built in silence, not in applause. It's the place where your identity was anchored, your faith was tested, and your character was refined. You will carry that stillness into every season that follows. Even in the noise of blessing, you'll protect your silence. Even in the crowd, you'll guard your quiet communion. Because you now understand that the power isn't in the stage. It's in the secret place. That's where the oil flows. That's where the strength renews. That's where the chosen return to breathe. You are no longer afraid of being alone, because you know now that solitude is where you hear God's heartbeat. You no longer chase affirmation, because you've tasted the sweetness of divine approval. You no longer fight for attention because you've been held by eternal love. That's the transformation of the chosen. Loneliness turns into language, silence turns into symphony, and pain turns into purpose. You are walking proof that isolation is not the end, it's the initiation into intimacy with God. And as you move forward, you will begin to see divine connections form. Not because you searched for them, but because they are part of the next chapter of your calling. The people God sends next will not drain you, they will discern you. They will not compete with your anointing, they will complement it. They will not question your fire, they will carry their own. Because when God finishes shielding you, He surrounds you with those who have also been refined. There will be a quiet recognition between you. A knowing that says, I've walked through fire too. You will build together, pray together, and rise together. But even then you will remember the foundation of your power was laid in the quiet, alone with God. And that is why you will never lose yourself again trying to be understood. You've already been chosen, already been confirmed, already been set apart. You have nothing to prove. You carry an authority that doesn't need explanation because it's born of experience, sacred, silent and strong. When you walk, you'll carry peace that shifts atmospheres. When you speak, hearts will listen, because there's weight in your words now. The wilderness gave you wisdom. The solitude gave you substance, the pain gave you power, and all of it, every hidden season, every lonely hour, will pour from you like oil. You may not see it yet, but the unveiling is near. The same God who covered you is about to uncover you, not to expose you, but to exalt his name through you. And when that moment comes, when you step out of the shadows and into the light of your purpose, remember this: the hiding was not wasted, it was holy. Every second in solitude was a seed of destiny planted in divine soil. You were being grown, not overlooked. You were being built, not forgotten. You were being shielded, not shut out. So stand tall, chosen one. The silence taught you how to hear. The solitude taught you how to see. The waiting taught you how to walk with patience and grace. And now, you are ready. Not because you've gathered everything, but because you've surrendered everything. That is what God was waiting for. That is what the solitude produced. One day soon, you will wake and feel it. The weight of the wilderness lifting, the heaviness of waiting dissolving into peace. And you'll realize you are no longer the same. You've become something the world cannot define. A vessel of quiet power, a carrier of divine wisdom, a reflection of God's resilience. You will move differently, speak differently, love differently, because you know what it costs to be chosen. You know what it means to be hidden. And you will never again mistake loneliness for lack. You will see it for what it truly was. The sacred space where God shielded your anointing and prepared you to change the world. And in that moment, you'll thank him for every unanswered prayer, every lonely night, every closed door. Because you'll finally see it was never rejection, it was redirection. It was never absence, it was alignment. It was never loneliness, it was love. And that love, that fierce, protective, all-consuming love of God, is what kept you through it all. It is what carried you when no one else could. It is what anointed you in the shadows and now calls you forth to shine. You are not just emerging, you are ascending. You are stepping into destiny, clothed in wisdom, crowned in purpose, wrapped in peace. You, chosen one, were never alone. You were being prepared in the hands of the Almighty. You were being shielded by his love. You were being transformed by his fire. And now, as the dawn breaks and the world begins to see what heaven has always known, remember this truth and let it echo in your soul forever. You were alone because God was shielding your anointing, and that was the most loving thing he could have ever done. And now, my beloved one, the hour draws near when your spirit must rise and claim what has always been yours. You have walked through the long corridors of solitude, carrying the echo of prayers unanswered, tears unseen, and dreams deferred, but never destroyed. You must understand, the waiting room of God is not a punishment, it is preparation. Every lonely night, every silent ache in your chest was heaven's way of shaping your spirit into something the world could not crush. You were not abandoned in that loneliness, you were being forged in it. For gold does not shine until it has known the fire, and oil does not flow until the olive has been crushed. Your anointing, precious one, was too sacred to be revealed before its time.